The village my mother lives in is a small village in the northern east of former Eastern Germany. So if you can picture Germany, you have this part that goes up between the Northern Sea and the Baltic Sea. And so where I'm from, it's closer to Poland, and like between Denmark and Poland up like on the Baltic Sea. It is the region that lived through many changes over the past 200 years, from being its own and independent dukedom Mecklenburg, where small country estate owners reigned over their villages and villages, to something else. Only after Napoleon was defeated in 1814 did all people of Mecklenburg gain freedom from serfdom. First an ally to the ever-growing Prussia, it became part of the German Reich under the first all-German emperor, Wilhelm I, only to be drawn into the First World War in 1914. One of my great-great-grandfathers died in the first few days of August 1914, somewhere on the Eastern Front. Suddenly, after the war, it became part of a German democratic state, the first ever, founded after the Contract of Versailles put tight restrictions over a bled-out countryside that suddenly, after centuries of being ruled by aristocratic and gentry overlords, got the vote. For the first time, for all men and women. We're talking about 1919. And they, not all of them, but a lot, elected the Nazi party NSDAP, who in 1933 took over the German government in illegal fashion, until it wasn't legal anymore. The Nazi government under Adolf Hitler brought on another war in 1939, which ended in their surrender. The eastern parts of Germany were conquered by the Soviet army, and in the years following, their regime took over Eastern Germany to build a satellite state known as DDR, or GDR, German Democratic Republic, a socialist state by Soviet graces. Since the fall of the wall in 1989 and the reunification of the two Germanys, my homeland Mecklenburg has tried to recover from its turbulent past and tried to find its identity and voice. But it's hard. Some people say everything was better during Eastern German times. People were cared for, taken care of. Everyone counted and no one was forgotten. Other people say, finally we can live out who we are. Churchgoers, gay and lesbian, conservative voters, environmentalists, system critics, pacifists. But this year when I came back to visit, I was shocked by something all of them seem to have in common. A lostness, a lot of worries, and deep fractures within society. And my mother's village offered me a very painful image for these fractures. A couple of years ago, a gay couple from Berlin moved into the big ancient and ruinous manor house with their children. And across the street, in a former stable building of the same estate, lives a man who sympathizes with the extreme right. Last year, he was fined by the police because he showcased his Advent wreath adorned with swastikas. After he had to hide them from public view, he hissed the Reichsflagge, the black, white, red flag of the German Kaiserreich that is used by the far right instead of the swastika Nazi flag that is illegal in Germany. In response, the gay couple draped a rainbow flag around their balcony. And now there are, not 65 yards apart, the Reichsflagge and the rainbow flag swaying in the same wind, and the street that divides them has become a trench. Similar things with maybe different flags are happening in the US. What are we as baptized supposed to do? Are we supposed to do something? Can we do something? In our gospel reading today, Jesus' disciples offer him to burn the villages of the Samaritans because they didn't welcome him as Jewish villages did. His face was set to Jerusalem, and not the Gerizim, the holy mountain of the Samaritans. But Jesus rebukes his disciples and simply leaves the village. On the road, someone swears their fierce loyalty, "I will follow you wherever I go." However, Jesus' response here is somewhat cryptic. He doesn't say, "Great, get in line," or "I've been waiting for you to join." He says, "Foxes have holes, and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." As baptized, I honestly think we too are neither foxes nor birds. We are called to live an existence that is only grounded, that is only grounded or nested in God. It is not a comfortable position to be in. If you are mean, you could say we're neither here nor there. But I disagree. If we ground ourselves in God, meaning in the principle of loving God and your neighbor as yourself, and if we're trusting that God is love and that love is bigger than everything tempting, distracting, destroying, comforting, surrounding us, then we have a position. Yes, it is a position that is not easily backed and sold to others. It is one that must be practiced in the big and the small, because it is not done with just casting a ballot or donating money to a campaign. You are this follower of Jesus from your toenails to the tip of your hairs, 24/7. And you hear me grappling for words, and I know I'm not selling this well, because that's what it is, a hard sell. Do you get anything in return? Yes. But the reward is countercultural. It is community. It is meaning. It is faith. So we're neither foxes nor birds. But who are we then as disciples of Jesus? I have to take a step back here to get to my point. Pastor Matt and I often speak about brokenness, and I do like that image a lot because it doesn't point to the individual and the individual misbehavior as the root cause for the state of our world. And it doesn't suggest that some people can be without brokenness, without sin. Rather, the word brokenness goes deeper and suggests that we as humans are not whole as God is whole. We lack something. And this lack, this wholeness, causes us to hurt other people, to lie, to seek our own advantage, etc. And then there is another concept I like a lot. In German, brokenness traditionally is referred to as sin, is Sünde. And it comes from the old German word Sund, which is still used today in geological terminology to describe a water-filled trench between two bodies of land, a sound. We are here, and on the other side is God. And that just describes the state of the world. Sin, in this image, is a gap that separates us from God. This image doesn't put the guilt for the existence of sin on a particular group or person, like Eve or the women in general or other people. As we didn't build the sound. It's there. It just describes what we are experiencing. There is a gap between us and God. Now, is there a good message in this concept? Can we get on the other side? Well, yes. Jesus stepped into that sound, the trench, the gap, and became as God and human, the bridge between God and us. With his death and resurrection, the ultimate separation from God in death was overcome, and the bridge between the two land masses set up. And yes, we will cross that bridge when we get to it. Right now, however, the bridge, the intact connection between God and people is important. The bridge doesn't mean that we suddenly are God or like God. The differences between God and humans are still real. The bridge simply means that with all the vast differences that exist between us and God, a connection is possible. God deemed and deems us worthy of this connection, and the connection in person or form of Jesus is, in essence, love. Only love is capable of bridging the differences between humans and God, and only love can reason for that connection, the bridge. As baptized, the followers of Jesus, we live in the reality that the gap between God and us is bridged. That the Sund, the sound, the brokenness between us and God doesn't matter anymore, because there is a way across. That though we live on different land masses, there's a real and stable connection between God and us, love. And that God deems us worthy of this connection, God's love. And because this is our reality, we are freed, strengthened, and called to build bridges. Living in a world that segregates itself into islands of differences, different flags or parties or whatever you can think of, we experience that love is the only bridge that can connect. Because though acknowledging differences, there is no judgment. The differences, or what is socioculturally perceived as differences, exist, but they are not the identity. God calls us to build bridges again and again. We are bridging people. How do we do that? By listening, by trying to view the world from the perspective of the hurting, through female eyes, through the eyes of people of color, through the eyes of gays and lesbians, through the eyes of men, through the eyes of people of color, or people who do not define their gender as male or female, through the eyes of people with handicaps. And yes, it would include seeing the world from the perspective of the man who hissed the Reichsflagge in my mom's village, because he too is hurting. I know it's not a compelling task, but you hear my urgency. I honestly fear we are running out of options toward more pain for everyone. And the only tool I can think of is building bridges by sharing love. Take a look around you. Now, look at each other. Do you know each other? Talk to your neighbors, here at church, but also the people living next to you or down the street. Let's talk to people. Let's ask them meaningful questions. Let's try to go deep, learn and connect. Maybe change your point of view a little, or theirs. And then let's do it again. Amen.